Steven Spielberg's new film, The Fabelmans, is a many-splendored thing. For starters, it's the origin myth of the director himself. The film depicts events from Spielberg's life from 1952 to 1965. We first see him as a little boy going into the theatre to see his first film. The Fabelmans then traces the boy's growing obsession with cinema and the way in which film derails his life but also ultimately saves him. The Fabelmans is also a tender and deeply moving portrait of love, longing and heartbreak. Spielberg's mother, an artist herself who sacrificed her vocation to the demands of children and marriage, eventually left her husband and married his best friend. This divorce and the cleaving of their family has been a recurring note in Spielberg's cinema. You remember the broken family in E.T. the Extraterrestrial or Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in which the father becomes obsessed with aliens and eventually leaves his family behind. But this is the first time that the separation takes center stage. So much so that in an interview with CBS News, the director wondered if The Fabelmans was $40 million of therapy. I don't know if the film provided Spielberg with closure, but it certainly feels like an act of forgiveness and understanding. He doesn't flinch from portraying the deep hurt that was caused, but there's no judgment or bitterness. Just a wise, sad gaze that acknowledges that human beings are flawed and fragile. The Fabelmans also works as a meditation on art and what it means to be an artist. Spielberg is one of the world's great directors. His achievements over 5 decades of movie making are so towering that it would be difficult to encompass them in a review. But here he shows us what that means in real terms. There is a scene in the film in which Sammy, the stand-in for Spielberg, is sitting in a hospital room watching his grandmother die. But all he can do is focus on how her neck is pulsating in the throes of death. It's as though he's filing it in his head so that he can put it in a film later. Film becomes Sammy's armor. In moments of pain and upheaval, Sammy retreats into organizing strips of celluloid. It gives him, as his mother observes early on, control. But art demands devotion and sacrifice. As Sammy's uncle Boris tells him, art will give you a crown in heavens and laurels on earth, but it will tear your heart out and leave you lonely.
Family, art, it'll tear you in two.
Some of this is a little on the nose. In one scene, Sammy's mother, Mitzi, announces that the family is basically artists versus scientists and that Sammy is on her side. Or Uncle Boris says, we're junkies and art is our drug. These lines seem to stem from a movie script rather than life. But Spielberg and co-writer Tony Kushner never lose sight of the emotion and the heartbreak which power the story. There is raw intimacy and vulnerability in the narrative. In one of the most beautiful scenes in the film, the family is on a camping vacation, and Mitzi does this impromptu dance in a transparent nightie. She's backlit by the headlights of their car. Her daughter's embarrassed, but her husband Bert and his best friend, who the kids call Uncle Beanie and whom Mitzi actually loves, are both mesmerized. There's such abandon and sadness in her movements. It took me back to the sunset dance in Lee Chang-dong's Burning, another moment of exquisite beauty and inexplicable melancholy. The Fabelmans has been nominated for 7 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director for Spielberg. The Academy has also nominated Michelle Williams for her piercing performance as Mitzi, a woman struggling with mental health and her own life decisions. In one scene, Mitzi puts 3 of her kids in a car and then chases a tornado. It's reckless, it's scary. As she sees the damage around her, she understands suddenly how dangerous her behavior is. She holds on to the steering wheel and just weeps. She knows that she can't control her own worst impulses. Mitzi might have been a major artist like her son, but she's now forever stuck in this hellish limbo between family and her calling. Which is why she lives vicariously through her son, but his camera, which uncovers buried truths, also comes in between them. The men: Paul Dano as the patient, understanding father Bert, Seth Rogen as Uncle Beanie, Judd Hirsch in an Oscar-nominated performance as Uncle Boris, and Gabriel LaBelle as the adolescent Sammy are also terrific. The Fabelmans boasts of an A-list, multiple Oscar-winning team: composer John Williams, DOP Janusz Kaminski, production designer Rick Carter. With their support, what Spielberg achieves is remarkable. The Fabelmans is a film that shifts something inside you. Working through one of the most crushing events of his own life, Spielberg exhausts us to discover yet again the enduring magic of the movies. He also nudges us to be kinder and gentler with each other. As Mitzi so memorably tells her son, you do what your heart says you have to, because you don't owe anyone your life, not even me. You can see The Fabelmans at a theatre near you. What did you think of this film? Is it one of your favorites from Spielberg? Tell me in the comments below and do subscribe to Reviews and More.